Greetings and salutations folks, and welcome once again as always to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. You join me today in my hometown of Wigan. More specifically, I'm in the village of Ince, which is the village that I was brought up in as a young Mr H. It's the village where I scraped my knees as a kid and I played in the streets. And I've come today to take a look at Westwood Hall, or what remains of it, which is that building there behind me. Now, as a young Mr H, that building held a fascination for me. Not least because of its remote location, and very little was known about its occupants at the time, which was a gentleman called Carl Lillis, who lived there with his mother, who was housekeeper to a woman named Mrs McAvoy, who passed away in 1988, aged 88 years. Mrs McAvoy was a recluse, and she basically lived in there with a number of cats, and she was very rarely seen. And the image that Mr H got in his head of what that house looked like inside was, if ever you've watched Great Expectations, or you've read the Charles Dickens book Great Expectations, I always imagined it being like Sattie's house and Mrs McAvoy being like Miss Havisham. That was what a young impressionable Mr H dreamt up that it looked like in there. Now, Carl Lillis lived in the cottage part right up until his death, which was a number of months ago. Sadly, he passed away of cancer, and he sort of became the unofficial custodian slash caretaker of the place, because by some strange quirk they outlived, Carl Lillis and his mother, their employer Mrs McAvoy, and they continued to live there after she passed away. And in 2003 the council then owned the building, and they wanted to flatten it. They wanted to move Carl and his mother away from this building. I think they offered them a bungalow, and Carl said no. Number one, his mother was in her 90s by then, and he genuinely believed that the move would kill her. And number two, it was his home. As far as he was concerned, he'd lived there all them years. They moved there in 1971, and it was his home. So he fought the Wigan Council, and he took it right to the High Court, and he got the building listed, and basically Wigan Council was told they couldn't demolish it. So in a little bit of spite, they built the business park that they wanted to put on this land right up onto the fence line, and I'll show you that further on in this video. Now, sadly, this building was destroyed by a fire on the 23rd of April of this year. It is believed that it was done deliberately and it was arson, and by sheer luck I've been doing this video over a number of weeks. So me and Mrs H had come down here to make an attempt to film it, because I knew that sooner or later someone would destroy it. And we've got some footage of what it looks like inside. Now, I believe this is the last footage that you will see of Westwood Hall, because I got it just a few hours before someone put a match to it, so to speak. Now, I'm going to blend that footage in with today's footage, which is us just walking around the outside of the building. It has been secured, and I wouldn't go in there now because it's very dangerous. You know, there's masonry hanging out all over the place, and I believe the old cast iron bath is just swinging in mid-air in there, so I wouldn't go in even if I could. Anyway, I'll take the camera off the tripod now, we'll go commando, and we'll walk around the outside of Westwood Hall and see what it looks like after it's been ravaged by fire. And this is the part of the building that is believed to be 300 years old. And that's where Carl Lillis used to live with his mother back in the day. As you can see, fire has just ravaged it, and it's just a burnt out shell now. We'll take a closer look at it. As I said, we'll not be able to get in today because Wigan Council have secured it, which isn't a bad thing really, because there's just brickwork hanging in mid-air and that in there, and it is a little bit dangerous, so we won't be going in today, Hot Potters, even if we could get in. And this would have been his front door. It is grilled, so I'll see if we can look through, if I can line up the lens with one of the holes. As you can see, it's just been destroyed inside there. This would have been his little kitchen area, and then through here would have been his living room. Now, one of the problems with this building, it was all wooden walls internally due to the era when it was built. So when somebody did put a match to it, the fire just ravaged through it. And it was said by Carl Lillis that that upstairs bedroom there used to be haunted. Now, whether or not that was just a story he made up, to try and generate a bit of interest when he was trying to get the building listed or not, who knows. But you can just see how the fire has taken its toll on this structure. Now here's a throwback. There was no bathroom in this building, only in the main part, in the Victorian part. So what Carl Lillis and his poor mother had to do was use this outhouse here. You don't see many of them now, hot potters. An outside toilet. There's the old cistern. There's the toilet. I'm not going to look down it, hot potters, who knows what's in there. And then there was all this land that he had. Just look at that. Sadly it's a little bit open, so anybody could come over here. But it was a nice bit of land to this. And then over here you had the Victorian part of the house, which is where Mrs. McAvoy and the Kay family lived. There's the little pantry. I think that later became a shower area for Mrs. McAvoy as she became older and more incapacitated. Then you got the upstairs bedrooms there. Right at the top, the chimneys. The strongest part of a Victorian style house is always the chimneys, hot potters. During the Second World War, they would see them survive if there was bombings, and then you would have the stairs that always survived as well. And then this is the Victorian front that was built on. Make our way down what would have been the footpath once. Don't know if we can see into that little pantry area there. As I say, I do have footage of me walking around, which I'll put in later on. Just duck under these bushes here. And once again you can see how fire has just ripped through this, leaving it a burnt out shell really. And that little window there is where the bathroom would have been for Mrs. McAvoy, and I believe the bathtub is still in there. Let's see if we can see through the fan light there. You might just be able to make out the bottom of the bath there on the right hand side of the fan light. And that's just swinging in mid-air. Let's look at the devastation. And that staircase there used to be a special kind of wood. There wasn't many made. And unfortunately, it's just gone up in smoke. And judging from the interior of this building, it's hard to see how it can be restored back to its former glory. These big stones here that you can just see poking out used to be part of an entranceway that would have gone up the wall there and attached, so I would have been in like a porch area here. I don't ever remember that being there, so they must have been removed a long time ago. There's a shot of the gardens. Once again you can see that this is a massive parcel of land. Make our way through here. There's an old Victorian well, which I'll talk about more in a short while. And then through here is where the original doorway into the property from the 1600s used to be. I do apologise for that bit of sun flow there. It's a rather sunny day today, and you can't see much in there due to the floor collapsing in. Let's make our way to this front room here. Again, you may be able to see some of the devastation inside. Yeah, the upper floors have just collapsed in, as has the roof. I should imagine once the weight of the roof hit the lower floors, it just all crumbled into nothing. And then this again is Carl's little part of this building, or what used to be. Such a shame. But you can see there's just masonry there. That keystone's just waiting to fall, and the moment that goes, whatever's above it will go as well. Right then, I'll make my way back to the front garden now, and I think I'll blend in the footage I had before someone set fire to this building. So enjoy the last bit of footage of the interior of Westwood Hall. Greetings and salutations, folks, and welcome once again, as always, to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. You join me today with Mrs H on camera duties.
Hello.
And we're currently stood in the garden of Westwood Hall, which is the building that you can see behind me. Now, Westwood Hall is about 300 years old, believe it or not, Mrs H.
Is it really?
Yeah, it was built in the 1600s, and then it was added on bit by bit, mainly in the 1800s, which is the facade that you can see behind me. Now, sadly, it's looking in a very sorry state of repair today, and that's because the last tenant, a gentleman by the name of Carl Lillis, who used to live in the cottage behind this house, which we'll be taking a look at in a moment, he passed away about 3 months ago. Unfortunately, he passed away with cancer. Now, there's a big story to this house, Mrs H. Carl Lillis actually fought the council to keep this up, because the building that's in front of us there, if you just swing the camera around, that building there was built a number of years ago, and Wigan Council own all this land, and they wanted to demolish this hall, basically kick Carl out, demolish the hall, and then they could have built that building further into the land where we now stood. However, he took his case to the High Court, and he actually won the right to continue living in here. But sadly, he's not here today, so who knows what's going to happen with this house moving forward. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a look around it and just record this really for posterity, because I do think this is its last hurrah. I think Wigan Council will demolish this when they find the state that it's currently in. Unfortunately, vandals have moved in, and the architectural thieves have moved in as well, stealing bits and pieces to it. No doubt they'll turn up at somewhere like Bygone Times or one of these other places where they sell old bits and pieces. Anyway, we'll take a look around it, we'll see what we can see, and we'll just take it from there, and we'll just go with the flow, Mrs H.
Yeah, let's go and have a look.
Now, the first thing that I noticed is the old well to this house, which is here. It used to be capped, but somebody's opened it up so we can see down it.
Drop your phone.
Yeah, drop it in that. Now, what they used to do with this well, it used to run off here. They used to get all the rainwater off the house, and it used to run in a channel, which I'm presuming is that, the remains of that, and it ran into here. Now, the only thing with it was all lead piping at times. It was all the old lead pipes and the old lead guttering, and that's what they were drinking. That was their water. And when there was a drought, there obviously wasn't much water. So that's a bit of a throwback, isn't it?
It is.
It's dry today, but I think it's marked on the old OS maps as well. That's how old it is. I know there's some wells round the other side, but we'll make our way into what was part of the bit that was built in the 1600s, which was the original entranceway, which is just through here. Now, as you can see, unfortunately, people have just been smashing windows in here, haven't they? And
there's glass everywhere.
There is. Now, a website called Wigan Rejects actually had a tour of here when Carl was still living. And one of the things that they showed, I'll use some of their photographs, I hope they don't mind. I'll put them in this video. I do know that one or two of them watch my videos. And one of the things was there used to be boot scrapers here. And used to be boot scrapers in there. And one on this side, and obviously the architectural thieves have come along and stolen those.
Yeah.
Which is sad, really. Because what they should have taken, if they were going to take it, they should have taken the stone it was set in as well. You know, all they've done is they've just taken the ironwork. I should imagine there would have been another one in there. Back in the day you would have come and scraped your foot, mud off your boots, that's how it would have worked. But yeah, this is the original entrance where it would have led into the building. That's leading back through to that cottage we've just been in. I'm not going to attempt going up them stairs, hot potters, because they don't look very safe. So what we'll do, we'll go through to the front door, which somebody's kicked in. Look at the state of that. Old fireplace behind that gate though. There's an old remnant from when Mrs. McAvoy lived in here. It's one of those emergency Let's look at this. Such a pity that it's fallen into such disrepair. This would have been the kitchen area. Little area there under the stairs. Then we go upstairs. Them's the stairs I wouldn't go up. And it looks like the architectural thieves have tried to steal that. Old-fashioned bathroom though. That looks like evidence of drug use in here. Gotta watch my footing in here, hot potters, because you just don't know how safe it is underfoot. Now apparently that was the original entrance into this home back in the 1600s, and then they put that one in sometime around the 1800s. Another bedroom here. Fireplace once again. And that leads up into the attic. I'm definitely not going in there, hot potters. I'm sure somebody's been in here trying to loot anything that's of value, copper wires, etc. Then there's like another level to this, up these steps here. And this is like another top bedroom. This is amazing here when you look at this. Let's make my way over. Look at that beam there. That's holding the roof up. It goes all the way down. As does that one. And it appears that Carl has tried patching this place up over the years. That old radiogram, old Ferguson mate radiogram. With the 78s on it. And who's on these 78s? Just walking in the rain, Johnny Ray. I've probably just handled something that's worth money there, but I ain't going to touch it. I'm not going to take anything out, potters. You should never take anything from places like this. What's that old saying? Take nothing but photographs, leave nothing but footprints. Look at these steps here, these are mega steep. And this leads you back into what was Carl's kitchen. Little cubby holes. And here we go, hot potters, if ever evidence was needed of scrap thieves moving in here. There we have it. Somebody's been in, stripped all radiators out, and other bits and pieces. They've hid it here, covered it with that tarpaulin, basically waiting to take it away. Now this Westwood Hall used to have a number of wells. I've shown you one round the front. There used to be some round the back as well. And there was just round here. It used to be there. What somebody's done is they've obviously tried to get the Yorkstone flag out of there. Probably thinking it was worth something, so they've collapsed it in. Now, Carl Lillis was a pretty handy bloke, and I'll show you some of his handiwork here. As he built that, That light though. Now that's made all out of, it's all been made out of tubing and stuff that. He's made that himself. Pretty good. It's had toilet here. I don't think houses still had these, would you? Such a shame. This is the back end of the property. All sweet jar in there. All chimney pots and that. Don't know if they're original to this property. Well, they've come from that chimney there at some time or other and then ended up here or not, who knows. Now unfortunately, there's been a lot of damage done over the 3 months since Carl passed away. And it would appear that vandals and thieves, probably architectural thieves, have got into this place and stripped it bare. And it's a shame really. Now I've no idea what Wigan Council are going to do with this property, whether they'll pull it down, which I know they've been trying to do for a number of years, but Carl Lilly stopped them doing it. Here we have what was once Carl's living room. And as you can see, it's just been thoroughly trashed. And books in there. And it's only a matter of time, hot potters, I should imagine, before someone comes in here with a box of Swan Vestas. Now there is some photographs of that fireplace there, which I'll try and put in for you. Showed it in its heyday really. Well, this has just been thoroughly ravaged. Through here is what would have once been the kitchen. So somebody's ripped the boiler out there. Make our way back outside. By far the strangest thing that's on this property is this boat here. It's been here for about 13 years that I know of, probably longer. And it is ironic that there should be a boat on this site because the original owner, Abraham Kay, was a boat builder by trade. Who knows who this belongs to and who knows what will happen to it. Don't want to get too close to this because it does look like it's been spragged up rather precariously. No doubt somebody will come in and push it over. Now there used to be a barn here, a lot There's only a bit of it left. It just collapsed due to age. Let's make our way through this undergrowth and we'll have a little look in here. Here you can see the barn's collapsed. This used to be a big long barn. I've no idea what used to be here back in the day. Whether there was horses kept in here. I know for some reason my granddad, he used to call this house the coach house. Whether or not that was a local name he'd given it, who knows. Climb up on here, we should be able to see in. There you go, Potters. No idea what all this stuff is doing in here. It's obviously come out of the house and just been left in here. Like the remains of an old boiler though in the corner. Would have kept this warm back in the day. Just look at that wall, the way it's bowing though. It's a shame. Now I'm going to make my way down into the gardens, as this was a huge garden back in the day. Now because Carl Lillis had stood in the way of the council's plans, what they decided to do was sell the land right up to the garden wall of this property. That just shows you just how close this fence line comes to this garden wall. The old gateway is just down here, and I'll give you another indication just how the council tried to push him out of this house, really. Here we are, this is the old gateway. That's the driveway that would have led up to the house. You can just see the house there poking through the trees. And that's how close they've come. So if someone was to buy this place and do it up, it does make you wonder how they would get access into and out of this property. Now, one of the stories that the people who used to live in the Cares houses would tell is that all these brambles here that you can see, they weren't here at one time. There was big lawns. You can just see the remains of the lawn though in front of you. And what she would do, the woman who owned this property at the time, Annie Kay, she would get the local lads to come and mow these lawns with an hand mower. And all she'd pay them was half an apple. If you'd done it on your own, you got a full apple, but paying bloody kids in apples, eh? And what one of the people who've done this lawn told me is it was great going down, because as you can see it runs downhill, down to the wall there. But it was a bloody bugger that pushed the mower back up, by all accounts. Such a shame. Well folks, sadly that brings us to the end of today's little video. I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of Westwood Hall here in Lower Ince in my hometown of Wigan. A sad end to a grand old building, I'm sure you'll agree. Now what will happen with this structure in the future is anybody's guess. I personally would like to see it be sold and someone with some money come in and return it to its former glory. However, the longer it stands in this ruinous state, with no remedial work taking place, the more dangerous it becomes. As I showed you earlier in this video, there's a number of keystones over the windows that are hanging on by a mere thread. And it's only a matter of time, I suppose, before Wigan Council come along, do a survey and deem that it is dangerous, and in the interest of public safety will be forced to demolish it. I hope that doesn't happen, but we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, I'm going to head off home now and edit up all this footage and blend it with the footage that I took from a few weeks ago and edit it all up ready for your edification. So, until the next time, from me, myself, Mr. H, it is bye-bye for now.